Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, I think I've gone through. Yes. Hi, good morning. This is Liz Davis. I am a nutritionist and I specialise in digestive health for busy women. So I use state-of-the-art gut testing and any other testing we need actually, and dietary supplements, dietary upgrades, lifestyle upgrades, etc., to really start to bring everything back into balance for you and nail those niggly symptoms or really terrible symptoms that can get in the way of you living life as you should do. Today I was going to touch on, just briefly, on a subject that comes up a lot, because sometimes I get people ringing up because they're extremely confused. They don't know what to do next because they've been to the doctor, been to the hospital, had all sorts of tests done, and everything comes back normal, but they still have symptoms, and so they don't know what to do next and where to go next for help and what to do. So I was going to do just a quick rundown of the differences with the tests that are on offer out there, and what this can mean with how you progress with your healing, essentially. So there are basically two areas we want to look at with testing. We want to look at the reference ranges that that different people focus on, and also following that, the actual depth of the testing that we do. So firstly, for example, looking at reference ranges, this is something that crops up a lot, for example, with thyroid testing. So people may go to the doctor because they're presenting with all this classic thyroid symptoms. They may have low energy, they may have hair loss, feeling very cold, etc. So convinced they've got thyroid here is that with the NHS tests or the GP tests, they have a very broad range of what normal is. So really, they with their tests, they're looking for out and out pathological disease states presenting, and the need for possibly prescription medications to sort it out. So they're really looking for quite a pronounced disease state before they'll intervene and prescribe medications, etc. So sometimes you can have really quite debilitating symptoms, but everything's coming back normal. And then what we would do is we would suggest private testing. So you would then go ahead, get your test done again, and we would be looking at probably, well, quite different reference ranges there. So the ranges we would be looking at are a lot narrower of what would be normal. So if you fall outside of those ranges, then we would be then suggesting lifestyle upgrades, nutrition, exercise, meditation, whatever, supplements to then bring things back into balance for you and prevent things getting any worse than they are already. That's just using thyroid as an example, but there are lots of other examples out there as well. So that's the first thing we need to look at, is the reference range. On the NHS, they tend to be a lot broader, they have a much broader range of what's normal. We would have a much narrower range of what's normal, and we would be looking at the more functional side of things, so bringing your body back into balance and preventing a worse situation occurring. So the other thing we need to look at, and this would apply particularly with regard to gut health, is that so often people will say have quite pronounced IBS symptoms or bloating or something. They've had all the tests done, and frustratingly it's coming back as normal again, normal, nothing wrong with you, which is fantastic in many ways. That's great. It's great you haven't got anything terrible wrong with you. But then at the same time, it's frustrating because you've still got all these symptoms. So what are you supposed to do now? So basically, when you're going for the NHS tests, they are looking for pathological states. They're looking for things like food poisoning, pathological bacteria, inflammation, disease states, cancers, things like that. Things which are going to be, out and out problems, which they can then go in and treat with medications, etc., possibly surgery, that kind of thing. But you could still have all these terrible symptoms, but doesn't necessarily mean that you've got this pathological state going on. It could be that you have an imbalance in your gut bacteria, which is causing these problems. Might not necessarily be very pathological strains that are causing you issues. You may have bacteria in the wrong place. If you've got imbalances in your microbiome, or your microbiome being your bacteria, this can lead to problems such as hormone problems, IBS, IBD, of course. It can be leading to autoimmune states as well. Mental health problems, SIBO, so bacteria in the wrong place, etc. So there can be a lot going on that your microbiome could be your microbiome being out of balance could be causing. So it's always worth taking a closer look. So we would be using markers which the NHS use as well. So we use a lot of the similar markers. We also go a bit deeper. So we're looking at how your gut's functioning, what your bacteria levels are doing, etc. And that's giving us a nice overall closer look at what's actually happening with your gut health. So not only looking at, so the difference there, again, just to recap, it's going to be the reference ranges and it's going to be the depth that we're looking at. So then we can use that information to then bring things back into balance for you and get things functioning a lot better. So then hopefully you'll not only be feeling a lot better, but then you're going to be preventing yourself even, succumbing to any of these conditions further down the line as things progress for you. So I hope you find that useful. If you would like to speak to me, I shall pop a link to my diary in the comments. And so do use that if you want to speak to me about testing or gut health or anything else. And I'll also pop a link to my program as well, which is completely free. So it's Learn to Heal Your Gut. And the links to both of those will be in the comments. Okay, so I shall see you next time. Bye.